The Middle East, a Machiavellian game of oil, power, and geopolitical alliances. A classic example of a quid pro quo. A Machiavellian masterpiece played in the Middle East. The latest developments in the Middle East reflect a complex struggle where alliances shift, threats are manufactured, and economic interests take precedence over ideological narratives. Viewed through a Machiavellian lens, this intricate game is not merely a clash of political forces but a strategic maneuvering to control the future of global power, particularly revolving around oil and currency dominance. The battle between the US dollar and the emerging BRICS bloc, Brazil, Russia, India, China, South Africa, forms the backdrop of this geopolitical chessboard, with key regional actors playing both sides to secure their interests. The dollar versus BRICS, the struggle for global dominance. At the core of these developments lies the US's attempt to preserve the dollar's hegemony while BRICS nations position themselves as an alternative power bloc. Saudi Arabia and other Gulf states are prime targets in this contest. The US, operating behind closed doors, is likely pressuring these oil-producing nations to reject BRICS, hinting that non-compliance could result in dire consequences, namely, Israeli intervention to sabotage their oil infrastructure. This subtle coercion exemplifies a Machiavellian strategy, employing threats and incentives to manipulate allies into acting in alignment with long-term strategic goals. Iran, in this scenario, plays the role of an external threat that justifies compliance. By posturing Iran as a hostile force capable of destabilizing Gulf oil flows, the U.S. creates a quid pro quo arrangement comparable to the one the neocons accused Donald Trump of pursuing with Ukraine. The message is clear. If the Gulf states want protection from Iran's potential aggression, they must stay aligned with the U.S. and avoid closer ties with BRICS. It is not moral persuasion but calculated fear that drives these decisions. Shifting focus from regional conflicts to oil and economy. The escalation of oil prices amid these maneuvers has a secondary but powerful effect. It shifts the world's attention away from simmering conflicts in Gaza, Lebanon, and the Palestinian territories. As economic anxiety grows, international focus turns toward inflation, energy crises, and economic stability rather than the humanitarian crises in the region. This shift in priorities is not accidental. It is a deliberate consequence of economic warfare, a tool used to manipulate global narratives and maintain control over public discourse. Meanwhile, Russia and Azerbaijan emerge as unexpected winners in this game. Both nations benefit from higher oil prices, which bolster their economies and strengthen their geopolitical positions. Turkey, too, finds itself in a favorable position. With oil pipelines running through its territory and Israel depending on Turkish routes for energy, Ankara quietly secures economic and political leverage. These developments illustrate the pragmatic alliances that transcend ideological divides, demonstrating, once again, the Machiavellian principle that power and self-interest ultimately trump moral rhetoric. The theater of alliances, Turkey, Russia, and Israel. One of the most intriguing dynamics in this geopolitical puzzle is the relationship between Turkey, Russia, and Israel. Despite public theatrics and occasional criticism of Israeli policies, neither Turkey nor Russia will take meaningful action against Israel. These performances are aimed primarily at appeasing domestic audiences who expect their leaders to challenge Israel's regional policies. However, beneath the surface, these nations are engaged in a pragmatic collaboration rooted in economic interdependence and shared strategic goals. Israel's dependence on Turkish oil routes ensures that relations between the two countries remain stable despite outward tensions. Similarly, Russia, whose strategic focus lies in balancing power in the region while securing its own energy interests, has no incentive to antagonize Israel. Both Turkey and Russia understand that maintaining a working relationship with Israel is far more beneficial than engaging in ideological conflicts. Iran and Israel, allies behind the curtain? Perhaps the most surprising element of this complex game is the tacit collaboration between Iran and Israel. Publicly, the two nations present themselves as bitter enemies, yet their actions suggest a more nuanced relationship. Iran's role as a regional menace benefits both the U.S. and Israel, as it keeps the Gulf states in check and justifies their reliance on American security. In this light, Iran is less of an existential threat to Israel and more of a useful tool in a larger strategic framework. The Machiavellian brilliance lies in this duplicity. Iran's rhetoric of resistance against Israel provides it with legitimacy in the eyes of its regional supporters, while its actions align with the broader interests of Israel and the U.S. By maintaining the illusion of hostility, both nations achieve their objectives without directly confronting each other. A masterstroke of realpolitik that allows them to manipulate allies and rivals alike. Conclusion: a game of shadows and strategy. The latest developments in the Middle East reflect a sophisticated game of power, manipulation, and strategic deception. At the heart of this contest is the struggle for economic and geopolitical dominance between the US dollar and BRICS. Behind closed doors, the US pressures Gulf states to resist BRICS, using Israel as both a shield and a sword. Iran's role as the region's designated threat ensures that Gulf producers remain dependent on US security guarantees. Meanwhile, rising oil prices shift global attention away from regional conflicts toward economic concerns, benefiting Russia, Azerbaijan, and Turkey. In this game, traditional alliances and enmities blur, as pragmatism and self-interest take precedence over ideology. Turkey and Russia maintain friendly ties with Israel despite public posturing, while Iran's relationship with Israel reveals itself to be more collaborative than confrontational. This Machiavellian web of alliances, threats, and deceptions demonstrates that power is the ultimate currency in the Middle East, far more valuable than loyalty or morality. In the end, those who understand this game and play it skillfully are the ones who emerge victorious.